celebrating the power of possibility.
I'm Heather Haley, and I believe that anything is possible.
This is Anything is Possible. My guest today is Heather Haley. By the way, we have cornered the market on H's.
Got them all.
Halloran, Hilton Hill, Heather Haley. Thank you for being here today.
Happy. Thank you. Honored, really. Another H for you.
How did you get into weather?
It was interesting. It really did evolve. When I go to school visits, I always tell kids, some people, especially in weather, their path was very clear. They knew exactly what they wanted to be when they grew up. I didn't. But my path revealed itself as I went through. I went into college thinking I wanted to study computer programming because my dad was a programmer.
Really?
But now I work with computers every day. Changed over to broadcasting actually because I loved watching TV sales, JTV, for example. I loved that side of broadcasting, and I grew up watching the news every single day. At my home in Cedar Bluff, the news was on. So I was fascinated by all these different versions of being able to tell stories. So that's where I decided, no, I want to go into broadcasting. And so I started out with a journalism degree and became a news anchor and reporter. And I actually had a news director suggest to me that I explore weather. I said, UT doesn't offer a meteorology program. He said, don't worry, it's available online, this newfangled thing where people could get degrees online way back then. And so that was it. That was my path. I always loved math and science. The weather part of that was easy for me. And again, it was a different story to tell. How can I help people plan for their day? How can I help to keep people safe? And then of course I still get to tell special stories and get to do special assignments in reporting. So I feel like now I've got the best of both worlds.
So you made the transition from news and reporting to weather. When did you make that transition and what was that like and where did you start?
It was actually a couple of years into my career. So I've been doing this for more than 17 years now. And so after a couple of years is when I had a news director suggest that I look into getting a degree in weather. So I went back to school and got a second bachelor's from Mississippi State. UT, hopefully soon, will have a meteorology program. That's one of my goals now. But that's where I transitioned over. It was hard at first going to school and working full time. But I knew, again, that path was laid out in front of me. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So it was hard in the short term, worth it in the long run. And then that's where my career just kind of took off. I was doing weather on the weekends and reporting 3 days a week.
Which station?
WVLT.
Like
all
this
at
has
WVLT.
been the whole...
Yeah, all at WVLT. Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been with the same company for 17 years now.
Well, you do such a fantastic job. I was talking to Rick about this same thing. When I watch television, I probably have 3 brains going at the same time.
Don't we all?
As a producer myself, I'm looking at how everything is put together, right? And I'm thinking about every single detail that has to take place in order for that thing to happen. So all the technical aspects, from the scripts to the lighting to the magic wall to the, I'm thinking about, okay, the pacing, how long the segment is. Then I'm looking at who's advertising and why. I'm looking at the whole business. So that brain is going. Then there's the actual content that I'm looking at. So I'm watching the weather forecast and I'm looking at the way that story is told. But then I am looking at something totally different, and that is energy. And television really is that.
Yeah.
Like the way you come across the screen to the end user is a thing. I don't know if you can teach someone that.
Yeah.
But you make a connection with an audience and they believe you. That's a huge step. But then the magic happens if they like you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I always tell our meteorology team that first and foremost, we have to be good communicators. Obviously, the technical side
what is a good communicator?
Yeah, and so that's where I always tell them, we have to make it make sense. So obviously we have the technical side of weather that we have to simplify. Look, people just want to know, is it going to rain at their house or not? How much is it going to rain at their house? Is it going to be dangerous, severe weather? So we have to make sure that message is received. But we also have to keep it as simple as if I'm talking to my mom on the phone. You know, I mean, my dad still live in West Knoxville. You know, they'll say, we were thinking about, going outside this weekend. Okay, here's what you need to know. It's just like that. So yeah, I'm staring into a camera lens, but what I'm thinking about is talking to my friends and family who are all over East Tennessee. So we really are being impacted just as much as our viewers. And I think that connection and that realism, that real effect for me as a local also helps for me to just convey that information in hopefully a very clear way.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
My dad actually has Alzheimer's, so that has been something too that just as a family we've been trying to navigate around. So we've been watching some of those effects kick in. Out of 4 children, several have Alzheimer's now as well in different stages. So just the Haley family in general could always use your prayers when it comes to Alzheimer's.
Now here's another part of your business that our business that I've always found odd. And it is this. I don't like your hair. I don't like what you wear. I don't like how you stare.
Yep.
I have so many friends in the business and they'll go, you won't believe this email that I got. You won't believe this phone call that I got. I wore this and can you talk about that?
That, to me, that's the wildest part of this business. So say, for example, there was some bad, severe weather and I needed to run into this station. My priority shouldn't be hair and makeup and dress. But because of the way some people react to our looks, it has to be, sadly. So yeah, we do get some weird messages. People don't realize, I do my own hair and makeup at 2 o'clock in the morning to then start working on my graphics and my forecast for a couple of hours to then go on air for 4.5 hours. Nobody's coming in there dressing me, nobody's buying my clothes, nobody's doing my makeup. So yeah, some days I'm gonna have a bad hair day. Some days I might go, I don't like this outfit either. But you know what? Nobody's buying my clothes, lady or sir, whomever it may be. I get both, surprisingly. But yeah, it's an odd part of this business that I wish would just go
What are some of
away.
the craziest things people have said to you about that kind of stuff?
Honestly, the most offensive revolved around weight.
Really?
Yes. When I was pregnant with my first child, I did retain a lot of water. I gained a lot of weight. As a lot of women do, right? That's perfectly normal. And I got some of the meanest messages saying, take her off the air until that baby comes. I'm going, this is my job. I can't just not be on air.
Wow.
Mean voicemails, emails, social media, they come at you from all angles. So being pregnant on TV is one of the hardest things, honestly. Those were 2 time periods in my life that I got the meanest messages.
How do you manage that psychologically? Here's my experience. If you take a light bulb and you leave it on all the time, it's going to burn out.
Yep.
It's hard being on all the time.
Yep.
I've had to figure out some, from therapy to great friends to figuring out downtime. I've had to figure out how to take care of my brain because it's exhausting. And people think what you do is easy.
Right.
You just, like building a graphics package for a weather forecast. It's very detailed, the timing of it, all of that. Nobody even thinks about it. They just go, why was, So how do you take care, how does Heather Haley take care of her brain?
I think some of it is I have been very upfront on social media with people. If somebody comes at me publicly on my Facebook page, for example, I'll go right back at them.
Really?
Because to me, if you're gonna bully in a public space, I'm gonna show everybody that you're just being a bully and you gotta go. So I always address bullies head on. I think that helps me mentally. It also, for me, it feels like as a parent, we should all be standing up to bullies. And if it's not for ourselves, then it's for someone else. If you witness it, you should be working to shut that down too. They shouldn't feel like they have a safe space we should feel like we have a safe space as people who don't want to be bullied. So I feel like that's been one of my main goals. And I feel like now I don't get as much on social media because of it. Because if people come at me, I'm going to blast them publicly and I'm going to block them and I don't have to deal with them anymore. So I feel like my Facebook page in general has become a more positive space too. So it's just people encouraging each other and commenting and conversing on gardening and family and weather. And I think that's helped me to kind of alleviate that negativity that can come at you 24/7 otherwise.
Right. Any other things you do to keep your spirit right? Because like I said, the energy thing is a huge thing.
Absolutely. Personally, it is all about balance. So unless there is really active bad weather, when I get home from work, my work phone is on vibrate and it's off to the side. So I've got to turn off the work side, go into mom mode, go into wife mode. I like to be outdoors. I feel like just getting my hands in the garden and enjoying sunshine and trails and going for walks keeps me in a good, happy place as well. Spending that quality family time, whether we're playing board games or running around outside. Being active with my church. So going to church as much as possible, having the kids there. I feel like it all keeps me in that positive space to the best of my ability.
Let's talk about the technology that you use in tracking weather. Yeah. It is much different. Mm-hmm. So I'm watching you sometime and you will pinpoint, you will go, it's gonna rain from this time to this time in this area. Mm-hmm. Very specific. Yeah. And I guess part of curating weather for an audience is figuring out which part of what's happening with the weather is important to my audience. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about the technology used to put it together.
Well, I will say the technology has advanced a lot, even in the past 10 years, let alone 20 and 30. So we can be more specific, but experience in a market, in an area, makes all the difference. Because some people will use the same weather model every single day, no matter what. Where I know from experience that just because that model says it's going to snow next week in Knoxville, I know to laugh at it because I grew up here, right? And meteorologists are new here are like, oh, look, there's going to be snow next week. And I'm going, nope, don't do that. Don't look at that. It's that experience. Or even the pop-up storms we get in the summer. I know how terrain-driven they can be, and we can hit that ridge in northwest Anderson County or the foothills up in the Smokies. That's where that experience and then the weather data come hand in hand. So a lot of times what you're seeing at home is actually something that I've customized. I can actually tweak the exact location, the amount, how spread out it is. So I'm using weather data, but then I'm also using my experience, even just growing up here, along with my years in weather, to then hone that in even more.
Why'd you stay here?
It's an interesting idea, right? Everybody wants to leave in TV. They want to go to a bigger city and a bigger city. I think there's something nice to being dedicated to a TV market, because then I feel like that TV market becomes dedicated to you. You build a relationship. I like that I'm from here. So again, that experience just growing up, being familiar with the terrain. But that also means that I care about every single person here. These are also my aunts and uncles and cousins and friends. So there's that kind of cyclical, like I want to help you at home, and hopefully you'll help me at home. You'll let me know if there's something that is damaged because of a storm, or if you've got your kid's school is having a career day and you want us to come visit, I want to be there too. So I think it turns into this nice relationship that I wouldn't have if I had just gone on to a bigger city.
Tell me about your kids.
Yeah, they Logan and Lily. So both summer babies. Logan will be 11 and Lily 7. So they're growing up way too fast for me, but they're my little buddies. So Logan is my kind of shy, reserved, very serious, very science brain. He's going to be an engineer or maybe even a meteorologist. And then Lily is my sweet, kind. She could walk into this room and everybody would be smiling. She puts a smile on everyone's face because she just spreads joy wherever she goes. So I hope the world never tries to squash that. I'm gonna at least try to keep the world from squashing that.
That's for sure. I know. Go out.
Yeah, so that light shines bright. So they both just bring something special to every place they go.
What was it like growing up in Knoxville?
It was very interesting for me because one, I've seen it change so much as a city. Right. That's wild. Turkey Creek didn't exist. Farragut kind of felt like you just kind of went off into the country and it was super quiet. That's obviously not the case anymore. But it's also nice to see it grow. So for me, I went from growing up in a small town to now I'm going, okay, we got kind of a bigger city vibe, but I feel like we do a good job at balancing that. So maybe as a kid, I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have. But as I got older, I realized we've got a really good balance of being able to get out and explore and have fun and have some cool things come to Knoxville. I mean, now there's something happening every weekend. So I feel like we've seen that city grow, and I'm just proud to see the changes.
Tell me about your parents.
Yeah.
Do they watch you every day?
For the most part. I know my mom watches most mornings. My dad actually has Alzheimer's. So that has been something too that just as a family we've been trying to navigate around. So he's still working a little bit, but they do watch in the mornings. They love to watch at night too. That I know she watches Ted every single night. But yeah, they get up in the mornings and catch me at least before they leave for work.
What's the Alzheimer's journey been like for you?
It was hard because I've actually been working with Alzheimer's Tennessee for almost as long as I've been in Knoxville, because that was when my grandmother was diagnosed, my dad's mom. So it became something that I was very passionate about, praying and hoping for a cure. And we've got so many great organizations they're working so hard on that. So we're kind of lucky in Knoxville. And then my grandmother passed away actually around the time my son was born. And not too long after, unfortunately, we've been watching some of those effects kick in. Out of 4 children, several have Alzheimer's now as well in different stages. So just the Haley family in general could always use your prayers when it comes to Alzheimer's.
Does it make you worry about yourself?
It does. Probably overly paranoid. My husband would tell you that I'm probably overly paranoid, but I'm trying to be smart about it too. Making sure that I am eating healthy, not because of weight, but because I know that there are studies that have shown how to take care of your body and hopefully your brain and even your mental health. That's another thing. We were talking about stress and anxiety. Those can actually progress into Alzheimer's. They can that's been associated with some of the damage that Alzheimer's causes to the brain. So just knowing that it's in my family, that is something that I'm at least conscientious of.
When at least for me with my parents, as they started to age, my father had Parkinson's and they had a lot of complications. And as they started to age, and then you start to see some serious health things happen, I couldn't help but go, is that gonna happen to me?
I know, yeah.
And I guess 2 things were present for me. One was, and I remember telling my daughter this, I wanted to look away. Yeah. You know, I didn't want to see my heroes next to their kryptonite. Yeah. Right? So I wanted to look away, and the guy was like, no, you can't. They don't need you to look away. They need you to lean in. Yeah. So to find the courage to lean in and to find the courage to be present enough that I don't make it about me. Does that make any sense to you?
And it's hard because Alzheimer's, dementia, all Parkinson's, they become something that affects the family so much. Because sometimes, especially with my grandmother, I remember her retreating, back in, it wasn't my grandmother, but she was the sweetest, most kind person. And one Christmas, she just cold coxed her ex-husband, my grandfather. If you don't laugh, you cry, right? That's what I always tell people. And it was the wildest thing to see. And I was going, that is not her. That was Alzheimer's. So there are those moments where you go, okay, what do I do? How do I help? And it can be hard and it can be overwhelming. And it also can evolve. So I think at least using our resources here can help you prepare. What can I do? What's going to be the next step that I need to prepare for now? And I'm a planner and I'm an overthinker, but I think it also helps me be prepared for that next challenge. So in this case, it's okay. We bought a house big enough with space that if family members needed to move in with us, we've got it. We got you. So just even trying to plan ahead for those kind of moments, hopefully to lean in and be there for them.
I'm a nerd.
Me too.
All of the science, are you? All the science around weather blows my mind, but I got to tell you about an experience that I had watching you. So I'm watching you do the weather one morning, and you're just moving in such a beautifully fluid way through your maps, and you really are telling a simple, clear story about what to expect in the weather. And I remember sitting on the couch that morning, and I was going through some tough stuff in my life, and this phrase came to me, watching you do the weather. because of the information that I have, I can't change the weather, but I know how to dress for it.
Yeah.
And that has become a huge metaphor for my life. This is crazy. I'm having this philosophical moment with you.
Deep dive,
You don't even know about it. But I'm saying, I was thanking God for people who can tell me, who can give me a forecast of there's going to be a storm. I can't change the fact that there's going to be a storm, but at least I know how to dress. I know how to prepare myself.
Control what you can control.
So I want to thank you for two things. That metaphor, because I dress for the weather instead of stressing for the weather. But I also want to thank you for this one thing that you may not know. You are a friend to so many people in this community.
Thank you.
You're a constant. They wake up every morning. They're looking at the weather, but they're connecting with a friend, right? And we in this business don't know the impact we have from that part of broadcasting, which is to be a friend to someone else. So you didn't know it, but thanks for being my friend all these years.
Absolutely.
And showing me that anything is possible.
Well, and hopefully people realize that that is what I want. If I'm at a grocery store, say hi, I'm not offended. I met some folks while I was on vacation on a cruise ship. It just happened to run into viewers. Say hi. That means I know you're watching, and hopefully that means that you feel comfortable enough to say hello to me. So it actually means a lot when people say hello.
Well, the weather forecast with Heather Haley is sunshine. Thanks for being here today.
Happy to be.